Hey guys, it's me, Carrie. First of all, welcome to my new subscribers. I know I've gotten some in the past few days thanks to the video I posted of the incredible Stephanie, aka Lady Gaga's beautiful acceptance speech at the Critics' Choice Awards. It was just so inspiring to me as someone who struggles with anxiety and depression and has also lost a dear loved one, my only brother Jeff, to alcoholism. It was just something that I really wanted to post for posterity so that I could watch it over and over again when I'm struggling, which I've been a great deal lately. And the fact that so many of you have taken the time to watch it is obviously a testament to Lady Gaga, not to me. But I'm really glad that many of you have decided to sub my channel and give me a chance. That really, really, really means a lot. Persevering Star is many things. Persevering Star is a name I gave myself. I want to say probably about 6 or 7 years ago on Twitter. I was just going by my actual name, Carrie Murphy, Carrie_Murphy, because Carrie Murphy was taken. And I was like, yawn, that's boring. I want to come up with a different handle to use on Twitter. And persevering was just a word that I really just grabbed onto. It's a word that, it just implies hope and strength and the inability to give up, even though a lot of times people, myself certainly included, want to give up. And Star was actually chosen for an interesting reason. It wasn't because I thought I was some kind of superstar or anything like that. Not in the slightest. To the contrary. I was actually chosen because about 20 years ago, I adopted a manatee, symbolically, from the Save the Manatee Club. Manatees are my most favorite animals in the whole wide world. And I adopted a manatee, and she happened to have a star-shaped scar on her back, unfortunately from a boat injury. And she was the first manatee that I adopted. And within the year of the adoption period, you pay a fee, and symbolically, you're a, adoptive parents to that animal. She tragically passed away. And Star the manatee was special to me because she was the first manatee I adopted. I love manatees. I collect all things manatee, and every plush manatee I ever own is named Star, all of them. So I honestly, initially I chose Persevering Lily with 2 L's because there's a character in a book by John Irving called The Hotel New Hampshire named Lily, and spoiler alert, it's an old book and movie from the 80s that stars my beloved Jodie Foster, but Lily ends up ultimately committing suicide. And I felt like if I could be a persevering Lily, this girl who never quite fit in anywhere, but was this gifted writer and, ultimately became a success at it, but it turned out it wasn't enough for her because of mental illness and issues with her physical health. But if I could be a persevering Lily, a Lily that never gave up, that would be something. And it was one too many characters for Twitter. So I ultimately came back to Star the manatee and thought, Persevering Star, that kind of works. What the hell? Let's just take that on. And Persevering Star has since grown to become my handle on all social media. So yes, if you want to find me on the Instagram, still on Twitter, which I deactivate from time to time, but I have my account open. My Facebook page for this channel is facebook.com/PerseveringStar. As you'll see in the drop box below, that's pretty much where you can find me everywhere. That's just kind of become an identity. Not so much that I feel like a persevering star, but it's what I aspire to be. And in a bigger picture way, I guess, I'd like to be the star of my own life. So yeah, so hence the name of this channel. But I just wanted to give a little bit of background to the people who are new here. I apologize to those of you who've been around a while. That's probably stuff you've heard before, or maybe not, because I don't know that I've actually talked about the name recently. But anywho, yeah, about the whole struggling thing. I'm in the midst of some serious struggling, like super, super, super big time. Like, life is kicking my ass to the extreme. I was diagnosed with mental illness with depression, formally at 18, but I saw my first therapist at age 7, and I came from an intact family where there was no divorce, there was no abuse, there were no obvious reasons why a little girl in 1980 would have been taken to a therapist, because it just wasn't, wasn't really done back then. So obviously I had some issues from the time I was a young child. The anxiety wasn't actually diagnosed until about 3 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, when I started seeing my current therapist, Hillary. Shout out, by the way, to my dear friend Jen, who helped me find her, because it's incredibly difficult to find therapists who take certain types of insurance, and mine was like ridiculously hard to find anyone that they took it. And my friend Jen is a social worker who I grew up with. She went to elementary school, primary school, elementary school, high school, all through, K through 12 with me. And she's been a friend for many, many years. And she is a social worker in Connecticut, and she was able to find my current therapist through just, the ends of the networking, I guess, that people do in the field. And Hillary is a social worker as well, and she's wonderful. But she was actually the very first person to say to me, Carrie, you also have anxiety. And I was just like, what? No one's ever said that before, but it makes perfect sense. And as I actually Instagrammed yesterday, I was really thinking a lot about this, because I've been really, as I said, struggling massively with my moods, and both the depression and anxiety kicking my butt like hardcore. The fun, I put the fun in dysfunctional, not really, but the fun of the cocktail of both depression and anxiety is that depression makes you feel like you are a piece of shit. And anxiety makes you think that the entire world agrees. So it's really just an awesome combination of things to suffer from, as if one or the other isn't bad enough. To have the two, it's just like you just, think you're utter garbage and completely worthless, and you are convinced, no matter how many people tell you to the contrary, that everyone thinks that about you too. And I've been going through some stuff. It's kind of beside the point. My mother's had some health issues in the past week, honestly, week and a half. But that's kind of beside the point, and I don't want to get too involved with that. You can hear me talk about that in some of my past videos recently, but that honestly doesn't have a whole lot to do with it, I don't think. It might have triggered some things, but I don't want to mislead you guys into thinking that there is a cause for why I'm in this pit of despair right now. There isn't. When you suffer from depression and anxiety, really seriously hardcore suffer, you're not feeling sad, because depression's a lot more than feeling sad, and you're not just anxious because you have an exam coming up, you've got a job interview, you're, contemplating separating from your spouse, you have struggles with a child that you're dealing with. It's not, neither of those emotions are situational when it comes to the clinical diagnoses of depression and anxiety. You are depressed just because you are. You're anxious just because you are. It's not something you can control. It's a brain disorder. It's an actual dysfunctioning of like synapses in your brain, either misfiring or triggering, incorrectly or not often enough. It's levels of serotonin. I don't know the technicalities of it, but the fact is it's an illness, just like cancer is an illness, just like diabetes is an illness, just like lupus is an illness, just like fibromyalgia is an illness. Just because some illnesses are invisible, and I just mean they don't show obvious signs to everyone on the planet, doesn't mean they don't exist, that they're not real, that they're not legitimate, that they're not incredibly debilitating. I personally have not been able to work in 12 years. I'm very ashamed of this fact. And, there are a lot of times that I think to myself, that just is insane. If I really, really, really wanted to, I could. But the last time I tried, I literally wanted to run out in traffic. And all I made it through, it was 4 days of training in a grocery store back in 2010. So I don't even count that as a job, because it was literally 4 days. And every day I had just panic attack, hyperventilation, screaming, hysterics. I'm going to run out into the 4-lane highway. Please don't make me go. Please don't make me go, to my husband. That's how bad it was. So trust me that it's not my choice. I'm not sitting home having someone peel me freaking grapes while I sit on the couch watching soaps and eating bonbons. It sucks not having a job. And it sucks not having a job because you don't feel capable of having a job. I mean, financially it sucks, emotionally it sucks, mentally it sucks. It's certainly not a self-esteem builder. And knowing that in the past I've been able to work is even more of a kick in the ass, because it's like, with all the work that I've done to try to grow and improve over the years, it just feels like my illnesses are getting worse and worse over time instead of better and better. Right now, I'm just sharing all the shit. Like, we're spilling the tea right now about Carrie's personal life because I really couldn't care less about judgments. I mean, I care. I care. Let's be real. But it's more worth it for me to be honest and put the word out to you from someone who lives it every day of her damn life, and make people, maybe one person will watch this video, certainly not the numbers of people who are watching the Gaga thing, but maybe one person will watch this video and go, damn, you know, that's so relatable, that I feel that way. Or, oh my gosh, now I finally understand what my husband, my brother, my sister, my best friend, my cousin, my mother, my father, my grandparent is going through, because it's kind of being explained in a way that's different than maybe I've understood it in the past. But, oh, I kind of lost my train of thought. Oh, yes, spilling the tea. I currently take Prestige twice a day, and is it 0.5 milligrams? 5 milligrams? I don't even know. I've been taking it for years. I can't even remember the amount. I actually get it shipped to my doctor's office directly through Pfizer, the pharmaceutical company, on a financial need basis, which thank God for that, because we couldn't afford it otherwise. It's not available generic, and it's incredibly expensive, and most insurance doesn't cover it. So if you are taking any Pfizer medications, definitely Google Pfizer Pathways to Care. You may find that you can get your meds for free or deeply discounted if you financially qualify. Just putting that out there. But I do take Prestige for depression. I take generic Klonopin, clonazepam it's called, because of course, you know, who can afford the real shit? But I take clonazepam 3 times a day, if I remember. I have a timer set for my midday 2 o'clock pill, and I still rarely remember to take it because I'm just an idiot. But theoretically, I take that 3 times a day, and I don't know the dosage on that either. I'm sorry. I wasn't actually planning on discussing meds, but stream of consciousness, we're just going with it. But yeah, so I'm on that med cocktail, so to speak, right now. And I don't feel like it's working well at all. Like, at all. And I don't know if it's that I've plateaued. I've certainly had that experience with past meds. I've taken, okay, let's see, antidepressants I've taken. Starting at around age 20, I think, was when I first got my first prescription. Obviously, like I said, therapy since 7, on and off. But my first meds, I think, were at 20. Zoloft, which, as my father, who was then alive and has been deceased since 1999, turned me into, as he said, and I quote, a raving bitch. So Zoloft was made a fail. Next one after that was Prozac, which actually worked for quite a few years, many, many years. I want to say, oh God, at least 6 or 7, probably. But ultimately, I think I plateaued on it, and it just, there was so much of it in my system at that point. It wasn't wise to raise the dosage. It just was one of those things that, you know, you build up a tolerance for it or whatever, or an intolerance, I guess you'd say, and it becomes basically ineffective. Then we lost our, did we lose our health insurance first? My husband was laid off twice when we were living in Florida, and we lost health insurance. So that's probably, I was also trying to get pregnant. So I'm thinking, did I try something else? Yeah, Prestige, duh. Okay, that was the first time I tried Prestige, was in Florida. After the Prozac stopped working, I took Prestige while we were on insurance, and it wasn't, I don't know, for some reason, I guess it was covered by the insurance we had then. I don't know, but we lost our medical insurance. I also was trying to get pregnant, and the nurse practitioner I was able to see, because I couldn't even get into a doctor with no insurance and not pay an arm and a leg, who was really, really, really nasty, like the worst bedside manner of anyone I've ever dealt with in the medical field. Basically told me that, you know, I was complete scum if I took any type of an antidepressant while trying to get pregnant, that it would jeopardize the baby and it would be just incredibly dangerous for the child, and I shouldn't do it, shouldn't do it, shouldn't do it. Meanwhile, if you ask other doctors, they will say absolutely continue with your meds, because it's better for you to be alive and gestate, you know, go through the gestation and have the child than to commit suicide while you're pregnant because you're not on your meds. But anyway, that's a personal choice, and, you know, doctors have different opinions about that. And long story short, that was a moot point anyway, because as it turns out, I was infertile and unable to have children. So yeah, that was fun. So my intention then was to go back on meds when I finally realized that. But of course, still no health insurance, so that wasn't going to happen. So eventually I came back. My husband and I lived in Florida from end of 2004 to beginning of 2013. But I would visit my mother here in New York, where we live now, in this very house, in this very room that I grew up in. I now live in with my husband, with my mother in the house as well. I ended up coming back to New York for a visit in, I want to say, probably 2012. Before, you know, yeah, maybe 7 or 8 months before we ended up ultimately moving back, which I'll get to that if I don't lose my train of thought again in a little bit. But we ended up, I ended up coming home for a visit, and I was just in one of the darkest places of my life for no particular reason. Just really, really dark place where a friend of mine who I thought was a friend, now I don't actually think was much of a friend at all, was willing to like pay for me to go into inpatient treatment because I was just that messed up in the head and just really felt hopeless. And I just said, no, I'm never taking your money. I'm not letting you do that. That's okay. I'm going to go see my general practitioner, who's known me since I was about 12 years old, and beg for them to put me on something. And even if we have to pay out of pocket at that point, it was like desperation. So I did see that doctor, and he put me on, oh God, I think it was Effexor. I think Effexor was the 4th med I took. It might have been, gosh, it was Effexor or something else that I can't think of. Cymbalta. Either Effexor or Cymbalta. I don't remember. I tried both of those. Those were drugs 4 and 5. And neither of them were too particularly great. Basically, I think they were both supposed to be sort of mirror drugs to Prestige, which had been the most effective thing for me. And that was why the doctor tried those with me, but they weren't working as well. So ultimately, he ended up giving me samples of Prestige whenever he would get them in at the office, which was incredible and helped a tremendous amount because, again, not covered by my insurance, not covered by any insurance as far as I know, or still extraordinarily expensive even with insurance. So that was a lifesaver. And then ultimately, I discovered the Pathways to Care program through Pfizer, which has been a godsend, and I've been on Prestige ever since. Then we added the Klonopin for anxiety about 2 years ago, I think. I started on 2 pills a day, and then we went up to 3 pills a day, again, when I remember to take my 3rd pill. But right now, it's not working. I don't think at all. I mean, I guess maybe a little, because I haven't, like, run out in traffic, and I live 3 blocks from a train station, and let's just say, you know, there's things you can do at a train station besides ride the train when you're feeling really incredibly depressed and anxious and don't really much care about getting up in the morning. But I haven't done that, and I won't do that. I've made promises to people that I love, namely my mother and my husband, that I will never commit suicide. I will never attempt suicide. I never have. There are times where I kind of regret that decision to make that promise. But really the best way to explain this to you guys is that I don't want to die, but I also don't particularly want to live. That's really the simplest way to say it. And I guess that's not even entirely true either. It's not that I don't want to live. I just don't want to live like this, the way I'm feeling right now, with the fucked up brain chemistry and the self-loathing and the worthlessness and feeling constantly judged by everyone around me, even if I'm not. I imagine that I'm being judged constantly by everyone around me. That's not living, that's existing. And that's not good enough. If this is as good as it gets, then I'm okay with not waking up. And again, I don't want to die. I just don't want this. All of this. It's just not enough. It just isn't. And before anybody gets judgy, and I know somebody inevitably will get judgy and say, but you're relatively healthy, you have a husband, you have a mother, you have a roof over your head, you're not homeless, you're not destitute, you're not starving, you know, you're not dying of an incurable disease. I do recognize those things, and I try to be grateful for the good things in my life as much as I can. But part of this fucked up brain is that I focus only on the negative. If I sit down and try to think with my rational mind, I can certainly say, yes, things could be a whole lot worse. But generally, the way my mind works, I'm a glass half empty kind of girl. It could also be a whole lot better. And when I'm in a particularly dark mental place, I mean, I'm pretty much always in like a gray zone. Like I never really get to experience color and shading in my life. It's just grayscale and black. It's pretty much the emotions that I feel, with blue, of course, thrown in there because, you know, feeling blue. But I don't know. I don't know. I'm losing my train of thought again. It's just I'm just really, really, really feeling very, very bad right now, and I don't honestly know what to do about it. My therapist and my husband both suggest writing, and writing is my passion. Writing is my dream. I want to be a published author more than just about anything in the whole world. And I do think I have writing talent. I write poetry, or I should say I was writing poetry a lot. I started writing when I was a young girl. I wrote my first poem that I can recall when I was like 7, and I went to school, you know, I went to college as a creative writing and literature major, thinking, you know, I was going to graduate and write the great American novel and, you know, publish volumes of poetry and be doing book signings at Barnes and Nobles. And, you know, those were my dreams. They're still my dreams, but how do you put that into reality, especially when you're a fucking poet? Like, nobody comes knocking at your door and saying, hey, we're looking for some great poetry, you know, to publish in a magazine, and we'll pay you too, or in a book or whatever. You know, people say things like, oh, you know, write an op-ed for the newspaper or something. At least it gets you in print. But that's not what I want to write. I want to write poetry. That's my passion. That's what I love. That's how I express myself. But I don't want to just keep publishing it on social media, which is what I've done in the past, and not getting paid for it, because quite frankly, I need to make a living somehow. And if I do have any talent at all, why shouldn't I be paid for it, you know? I mean, I don't know. Everybody has to start somewhere, and I guess it was a good segue into getting my writing read, but I mean, you're not going to see, as much as I adore her, you're not going to see the aforementioned Lady Gaga or Beyonce or, you know, any artist really just performing for free. They are making a living. They are charging money for their concerts and for their CDs and for their digital downloads, and rightfully so. It's their job. They're making a living. That's what you do when something is, you know, your career. So I ultimately, you know, that is my dream career. It would keep me from having to be out in the people-y world for the most part, because the world is way too people-y for me most of the time. I'm not agoraphobic or even anywhere near that, but there are definitely days where I just won't leave the house if I don't have to. I don't know. it's weird because I trust a lot of people. I trust a lot more people than I probably should, a lot more deeply than I probably should. But at the same time, I'm also incredibly paranoid and just kind of always waiting for people to disappoint me and hurt me just because it's happened so much in my life. So it's really confusing and complicated because I spill my guts. I mean, that's what I'm doing right now, obviously. I spill my guts, you know, publicly, like legit. Like, it doesn't get much more public than YouTube. But at the same time, I'm so incredibly afraid of, you know, being hurt for the things that I say. And like I said before, I don't care about being judged. Of course I fucking care about being judged. Everybody does if they're being honest with themselves. But I need to not care so much that it keeps me from doing or saying or writing the things that need to be done and written and said. Like making this video right now with this really awful, unflattering angle of me looking wide as a freaking brick shit house, just sitting on my bed here with this bad lighting and everything else. But, I don't know. This was the time I felt like I wanted to do it, so I'm just doing it, and it is what it is. But anyway, I'm going to wrap up because this has been really long, and I know a lot of you guys would just prefer to watch, you know, 2-3 minute videos, and I'm not good at those, which is maybe why I don't have more subscribers than I do. But, and just so you know, the Sturm und Drang of this video is not always what I'm about. Sometimes I actually do post pleasant videos where I just do silly, fluffy things like review lip balm or show you gifts I've gotten in the mail from friends or things that companies send me once in a rare while to review for you guys. But right now, these videos, these are the ones that matter the most to me. These are the ones that I feel are the most important to make. For, honestly, myself, as well as for, you know, whoever out there may get something out of them. Because, quite frankly, no one may get anything out of this. No one may watch it. People may be just, like, you know, people may just be like, I just want to see more Gaga, or I just want to see more lip balm. What the hell is with all this talking? I don't want to hear you talk. I don't want to hear you, you know, babble and watch you fuck with your hair incessantly because that's a nervous habit. I don't want that. Okay, then you don't have to watch this video. That's totally your right. That's, you know, kumbaya. You know, namaste. I salute you. Watch what you like. Click away from whatever you don't like. That's totally cool. But on the off chance that this video reaches even one person, again, who just gets something out of it and says, okay, I feel less alone right now, or I feel like I have a deeper understanding of what my loved one is going through, then that makes putting myself out there like this, laying my soul bare, so to speak, worth it. So for what it's worth, that's what I have for you tonight. Again, welcome to my new subscribers. If you're even watching this and you go beyond just watching the Gaga video, which again, I'm thrilled that so many people are watching. You know, I can't take credit for any of that except just having the presence of mind to share it because it was so powerful and meaningful to me that I thought it would be impactful for as many people in the world as possible to see, because it was so beautiful and heartfelt and deeply moving to me personally. And FYI, she also said the words star and perseverance at the end, so that really hit me in the feels when I desperately needed that. But to those of you who just watched that video and clicked subscribe, that's awesome. I hope maybe you're watching this. If you're not, that's cool too. I genuinely never expected this channel to amount to much of anything. It's come to mean a lot more to me over the years than it did at first. At first, it was just kind of a place to shoot silly things. And for the first, oh gosh, at least 6 months that I had this channel, if you go way back, I didn't even appear on camera because I was so insecure about how I looked and that everybody was going to tell me I was fat and ugly and four-eyed and my teeth are yellow and point out all the things that I already know about myself, but that being on camera only magnifies. But then finally I just said, screw it, I'm going to be on camera. And at first I thought, I'm never going to talk about real stuff, like deep stuff, like my mental illness or going through financial struggles or emotional struggles or things like my mom having, you know, issues in the hospital. And like, why do I want to put my business out in the street? But at the same time, doing that is what's made this channel so meaningful for me, and this ability to share the amazing outlet that Facebook is, even though it's the bane of my existence sometimes, because I just find myself questioning like certain people, like, why do these people have like 10 million subscribers when they don't even offer anything of substance? You know, why is this fluffy shit so popular with people? Or why are these people that are so ignorant and so hateful in what they say getting so many views and so many subscribers? But really, that's neither here nor there. That's their channel, that's their karma to live with, or their, you know, whatever, their fate, you know, to live with the repercussions of, you know, the choices that they make. I need to make a channel that I feel proud of, that I feel is laced with integrity and honesty and forthrightness. I'm not gonna kiss anybody's ass. I'm not gonna, you know, suck up or pander to you or talk down to you, because I have every reason to believe that each one of you watching this is far more intelligent than I am, so I'm certainly never going to talk down to anyone or demean anyone or judge anyone. Well, I guess I kind of just judged people a little bit with the comments I made, but there are certain people on YouTube that I just want to smash my face into a wall and be like, how the hell is this person like on, not only on YouTube, but like YouTube famous, which I think is so ridiculous. Like, why should anybody be famous for being on YouTube? Anyone can sit and talk to a camera. I've got news for you. If you think you can't, trust me, you can. Because if I can, anybody can. I don't know. It's a mysterious beast, this YouTube thing. But at the time, sorry, in ways though, it can be a beautiful thing too. It can be a tool for good and positivity and connection and information sharing. And that's primarily what this channel is about. It's, I don't know, it's this about this little star trying to persevere in her own mind, in her own world, the best that she can, and who's failing miserably at it right now, and is failing miserably at it most of the time, but every once in a while is able to shine a little bit. And I guess that's why I haven't visited the train station for any reason other than to ride the train. And with that, I'm going to wrap this up. But anyway, to subscribers new and old, I love you guys. I really, really appreciate anybody who has taken the time to watch even part of this video. And if you've stuck through the whole 33 minutes, man, more power to you. I just adore you for that. Sometimes you got to get real. And I'm always real, but I mean real, like about the deep stuff, not just which lip smacker is my favorite. Dr. Pepper, by the way, in case you wanted to know. But anyway, I love you guys. Thank you so much for listening. And I'll be back soon with more stuff. Bye.